All right, guys, good morning. Hey, it's Tuesday morning out here. It's the 28th of June, 2023, and we're down here at Cabin 1 right now, and we've kind of got a lot going on. A lot has happened the last several days leading up to this point here. I've done quite a bit of driving. 99% of it was really unsuccessful, so probably not really going to get into that. Maybe someday I'll consolidate all the horrible trips I took trying to make things happen that just don't make it onto film. So yeah, so we're going to move forward, and we're going to do that today here at Cabin 1. So I've got some changes here inside Cabin 1. I put up some temporary lighting. It's better than my little spotlight I've had down here. It certainly brightens up the room, and I'm able to see kind of what the hell I'm doing down here. So and that'll help out with you guys too as I'm recording all this. It won't be so kind of with all the shadows and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we got quite a few changes. Let me turn you around and show you what's going on. Okay, I'll just talk about things as I walk in the door here. So this tube and that little tube right there, that is the framework for the pocket door that's going to go in the bathroom area here. So that's on tap for today. We're going to put this together, make sure everything goes okay, and then, you know, as everything clears with the boss, we'll go ahead and order another one for Cabin 3. So that's the framework. Over here in the corner, we have the door. It's just a plain white pine slab door. Not very expensive, but it is a solid core door. So it's not super light, but it's got the look that we're looking for here within the cabin. Those eagle eye viewers may notice a little change here with the electrical boxes, my panels that are going to go outside. I basically turned everything that I had electrical in. Some changes had to be made. One of which is this PVC. This is schedule 80 1.5 PVC. I went from a 1 inch to a 1.5 because of conduit fill requirements. I finally got a good count on how many wires are coming up through it and whatnot. So this inch and a half leaves me plenty of space to add lines in the future. So I've got a 100 amp box now. It's 12 slots, 24 circuits, and it has a main disconnect in it. So I really got wrapped around my sub panel box kind of in a tight spot, because what I had was a main lug and not a main breaker. All of my slots were full, so I couldn't backfeed the panel. And because these are all separate buildings, or separate from the main service supply, I have to have a disconnect. So I ended up buying a separate disconnect. And it was just one thing after another that I was adding on and changing. And I want to keep things as simple as I can. So this box is going to make that happen. And obviously, once I get into electrical stuff, we'll get deeper into that. But so the thumbnail version, I've simplified the electric, and we're still kind of collecting stuff to make that happen here in the very near future. So like I said, door, frame for the pocket door, and new lighting. So that's kind of where we're sitting at here in Cabin 1. So let me set you up. We'll start tearing into this tube and start making it happen. looks like a fairly typical, you know, pocket door. Not too many bells and whistles on here. We went here. This is a rocket door. So I mean, obviously it's an all metal construction, and we preferred that over a cheaper all wood construction just for stability and, you know, time of service this thing's going to serve. So relatively, you know, easy to kind of put together. It's just going to take some time, but typical, you know, mass-produced bag containers here. Each one's in its own little bag and stuff like that. So some vertical P. Most of these shorter ones here, I assume they're going to be kind of the cross sections that go across and help frame out the door. Inside the little tube here, that was something extra I threw on here. That was for a soft door closing. So, you know, typically with all pocket doors, especially this one, it's got a little bit of a heavier door to it. And I say heavy, I mean, it might be 25 pounds, if that. I mean, it's not heavy. But, you know, you don't want it slamming all the time and everything like that. So that's a soft door close there that we'll install. And so we did some looking around. I mean, it's amazing the price, different prices that you find for stuff like this. So this, when I purchased it, it was somewhere in the $150, $200 range. The all wood ones were in the $75 range. And then high end, I believe it was called Cavity Slide or something like that. Something you get off build.com. They were over $1,000 for the framing system alone. You added on a soft close function for it. That was another $400. So really, when you got down to it, even using a somewhat less expensive door, this door was less than $200, but the frame, the soft close function, and then the handle for the door ended up being around $2,000. And that is just outrageous to me. So we didn't go that route, obviously. So this is what we're doing. We're happy with this here, and I mean, really, we're out the door for less for the whole system for less than $500. So it's crazy for a door system. Believe me, I'm aware, but you know, we're trying to pick the lesser of two evils here, and this is where it kind of ended up. So this is great. So I'm going to take some time, look through the manual, and then we'll start putting things together. Guys, first potential hiccup here with this, and it's all wrapped around using rough sawn lumber and the width of this. So you have these brackets here on the outside. Now these holes here are obviously going to connect directly to the header. So what this does, it's angled out. Okay, you can see that. So when you push this in and lift this up a little bit, that is going to be attached right there. Now, the issue is that here on this side, if that is pushed all the way against the wood there, and I attach this bracket that's going to accompany it on the other side, that is just about where it is. And I'm sorry, let's see if I can't focus this a little bit. So the fact that I have 4 inches across here on lumber affects this bracket. So I'm probably going to have to chisel out a little bit. I'll probably do some on both sides maybe just to keep it even and to keep this piece as centered as I can on this cross member. So yeah, so that's the issue right now. So I'm going to mark these. I'm going to mark these on this side and, you know, the right height. And I'll chisel out probably 1/4 inch on each side for each bracket. There's 3 of them up there. And I'll do the same on the other side. All right, guys, made a little mess on the floor here and wanted to show you how this turned out. So what I did, obviously I had to basically take a 1/4 inch out on each side where these brackets are going to sit. So the distance here between these 2 spots is 3.5 inches. Okay, where this is 4 inches here, it's 3.5 here where these brackets are going to go. So they are right on the opposite side of each other, so it was relatively easy to figure out. But this one here has got a long bracket on this side and a short one on this side. So a slight adjustment, but that's fine. So let me set you guys up here. We'll try and fit it in. It looks like it fits in really just perfect. Here's kind of how they look. So the distance now, you can see obviously it's below where they're going to rest. So remember, I added 3/4 inch for the flooring. So I'm going to have to, what I think I probably ought to do, make this a lot easier myself. I got to put a couple shims down here to lift this up so that these brackets are sitting in where they're going to end up. So make that happen. Put it on the other side. The other side, they've got to be screwed into the metal, just like these are here. Those little metal screws, and then we'll, I guess, well, I'm just following the directions, so we'll see what goes on next. So I assume I'll affix it to the wood. Here we go. So I got a little shim under there, so it's sitting up there within those cutouts that I made, and I have the backside ones attached as well. Now they're in there nice and snug. I didn't have to bend them out or anything, but 3.5 inches was right on that distance. So you can see that the track is resting right up against the bottom of the wood there. So that's up just about as far as they'll go, which is great. So now I'm going to attach, I've got 2 holes in each bracket. Well, 3 actually, but the 2 smaller holes, I'm going to utilize those holes to get screws. Boy, that's a terrible angle, huh? Yeah, that one's got 2 there, and that'll allow me to screw this right into that wood piece there. So funny enough, these screws weren't with the actual setup here, so I gotta go dig through my screw bucket up there and see if I can't find some screws. All right, guys, just went along and secured these brackets to the wood here. I've got some 1.5" exterior construction type screws that are in there now. So that, just having to check for plumb and level kind of along the whole way there. I mean, you're only kind of sliding it just ever so slightly to get it plumb or level. And it's as long as your beam across the top here is level, that really takes away a lot of the angst about it. And then your support post here at the end, this one here, as long as that is plumb, again, because this is all metal and it's all punched out and square, making this, you know, obviously a 90-degree angle alleviates a lot of the worry, at least for the being level and plumb on that direction. So there is a little bit of wobble down here at the bottom. Obviously you can see when I grab and move this here, it does kind of slide a little bit, but there's nothing you can do about this at this point, because somewhere in the future, that bracket right there, it's got those 2 holes in it. That's actually going to attach to the floor. And of note, that is the bottom of the bracket. It's about 3/4 of an inch from here down to the subfloor. So of note, absolutely allow a measurement when you're framing this out, allow for this distance here for the width of your subfloor, or I'm sorry, width of your flooring, because if I had just gone with the straight measurements for the rough opening, this would have been against the subfloor and I would not have had any chance of getting floor underneath that. So that's definitely something to think about, and you know, just one of those things I just happened to do as I was making my measurements and stuff. So definitely leave yourself your thickness of your subfloor. If it's linoleum or whatever, you know, 1/8 of an inch or so, or you know, this here is about 3/4. So yeah, looks good. All right, guys, we're ready to move on to getting the door set up and putting the rollers in the top there. So let's move on to that. So how the door attaches to the rollers up there, there's 2 of these brackets. Each one gets 4, and these get screwed into the top of the door. And this loop right here goes around those bolts that I just put into those rollers. And this is 4 3/4 inches from the edge of the door. That's what I was just measuring there. Kind of got the brackets on top of the door mounted there. So I've already put the rollers in. They are right here. So now those brackets just kind of hold on to those bolts right there. Let's try and get it up there. So look what I just caught. So obviously I skipped around in the directions a little bit because in the directions they actually have this drywall at this point where we're at right now. But these brackets here have to come off, otherwise the door's obviously not going to slide in there. There's 2 of them left on there. So let's get them off. Just by looking at it though, I mean that right up there, that connected really easily to that bolt and it would have certainly slid in there without any real effort. So that's good. I'm going to label this as an overwhelming success. This is fantastic. It rolls wonderfully. Centered, it's centered right in the frame as it's supposed to, the metal frame there. Hangs plumb. The only thing you hear when you're sliding this in and out, obviously the rollers along the track at the top are what you obviously will predominantly hear. Any type of metal shake or rattle that you hear is this area down here simply because this is not attached to the floor yet. So I may actually put a little blocking under there and attach that. Obviously it's going to be trimmed out and everything. You're obviously not going to see it, and that may help. Well, it'll obviously stabilize the bracket itself. But once I get that plumb, the door, you can see there's a little bit of give to it. Just that little, that little shimmy. Just that much right there. So as long as once it starts to hang plumb and everything, that'll hang probably true right down into the middle of that bracket. And I'm sure when people are moving it in and out, it's gonna make contact and stuff because it doesn't sit in there very solid. It just hangs. But that's fantastic. It looks great. I am super happy. Pretty easy install as far as that goes. This took me just in the morning to get this done, so a couple hours. First one I've ever done out of the box like this. So I would think my second and by the third one, I'm going to have this probably down to an hour, hour and a half maybe, because it was, and this is even adding for the trim work I had to do up here to get those brackets in there. So that's great. I think it looks great, and it's a nice way to keep this door out of the way from swinging into the living space here, since it is such a, you know, this is 12 by 24 or 12 by 20 inside. So, but that's great. We'll trim that out. I think that'll look fantastic, effective. And yeah, well, I got to figure out this. There's still some things I have to do to it. There's a little bumper I've got to put on this end of the door, so when it slides in, it doesn't just slam against the bulkhead here. And then there is I have that soft close bracket as well. So let me get into that. But right now, woo, fantastic. All right, guys, really just wrapping it up here. I just put on the braking system, which is kind of right in there. It's a soft open. And the bumper that's on the back here, I just finished installing. Right there. So it certainly does cushion, you know, certainly does cushion the blow of it. And it works great. I mean, that's fine. It's a basic pocket door. And let me show you how this soft open works. So there's a latch right here that will catch this piece. Watch what it does here. So it just makes it a soft open door. So you can actually watch the ram in action here. Pretty neat. Next thing I'm going to have to do here, and I don't have it just yet, I've got to put a pull on this side here. So it's just going to be one of these basic pocket door pulls with a latch that you kind of flip up to grab it and pull it. I just don't have that piece yet. Putting this in and assembling this frame was really just a, you know, it was a test run to see how this was going to work. So I am definitely going to be utilizing this process or this product on cabin 3, or I should say, I guess on the rest of the cabins. I just don't have the layout for cabin 2 quite yet finalized. So yeah, so I'll get online. I'll order, you know, one more of everything to get cabin 3 up to snuff, and then yeah, we'll go with this. We'll get 2 latches for the door for cabin 1 and 3, and then we'll call the door finished. I've been looking at how the sheathing is going to go on here. It's going to be a little funky. Again, this was designed to have drywall up against it, and like I said, in the directions at this point of the installation, the drywall is already installed because you have to put screws through these metal pieces here. And this lip right here, this is 1/2 inch from the face of this here to the face of this. So the drywall would fit in there just nice and snugly. But I'm not going to be putting on 1/2 inch drywall on here. So, and my measurement for this side is about 3/8. So I am about 3/8 prouder on this end than I am on this end. For the drywall, or I should say for how it's set up to be drywalled. So as I'm putting on my sheathing, you know, I'm going to have 1 inch or 3/4 inch thick boards that are going to go from here all the way up into, you know, to meet the ceiling. So I've got to figure out a blocking system for along the bottom here for where those boards are going to be secured against the bottom of this area. I don't think it's really going to be, you know, too difficult. It's probably going to be a 1 inch board laid along the floor. Again, I have to take into consideration for as long as my flooring, when it comes in, it's going to go under there far enough to where, you know, the sheathing is going to come down over it, and then there's most likely going to be some sort of trim work along there. So you're not going to see any of it. So much like I have this little shim under there right now, I will probably have a length of board under there, the length of this, so that I have something to nail into when I put my sheathing on. So we'll figure it out as it happens, but that's that's my thought process right now. But of course that might change a little bit. So I'm gonna go the rest of this afternoon. I've got to do more work up here with this area. I've got my pull box in, so this is gonna be mounted up there. This is a 8x8x4 pull box. It's got some knockouts on it, and that is where the electricity from the outside is gonna come into this box, and then we'll parse it out from here. So these are super handy. Especially for situations like this. But I need to get more of this framed out up there today. So I need to get moving on that. All right, guys, coming here later in the afternoon. It's about 3 or so, 3:30. I just wanted to show you what I've been kind of pecking away at. And it's this area here, this kind of mechanical area above the bathroom. And I think I have it down pretty well here. So it's of course toe-nailed in here at the bottom of these studs here, and then I have it actually attached. I've got it nailed into a rafter here. Now you're not going to see that, obviously the ceiling is going to come across and cover that. It's tied in there, and it's also tied into the ridge board as well. So you can kind of see this support board that's right here. That goes up flat and it's nailed into the ridge board. So it is solid. And it is solid to the point that I'm very happy with it, the way that turned out. So I think that's a pretty good solution. And the piece of cardboard you see there, let me see if I can show this to you. So this is an outline. This is one of those mounting diagrams of the mini splits. Okay, so our mini split is basically the inside part is gonna sit basically right somewhere in here, just about like that. So I've been trying to figure out on this side here, the left side or the right side, I need to have access into this space, primarily because I'm required to, because I'm gonna have a pull box in there. It's basically a big junction box. So I have to have access to it. So what I've really kind of come down to, and some of you are probably already shouting this into your computer screens, but I think what's going to happen is I'm going to have a hatch here inside the bathroom. Probably something like 2 feet by 16 or 2 by 20, 2 foot by 20 inches, something. I have to keep in mind I want basically centered in the bathroom on the ceiling is going to be the vent light fixture. And then I assume to this side over the toilet area is going to be where this vent slash hatch is going to be. And that's going to allow me access into the top, because just having a small vent here, like an 8x8 vent, really I could just get my arm in there, and the hot water heater is going to be mounted up there. I also have to be able to kind of do any type of sort of maintenance to the vent structure that's up in there. So I'm more down the road now of thinking that I need just a larger hatch inside the bathroom that is going to be easily accessible up to the mechanical area. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. But this turned out great. I'm super happy. Really productive day as far as kind of having a plan and running through it. And honestly, not a whole lot of man hours were put into all this. I've been kind of back and forth up the hill. We're getting deliveries, and it's just one of those things. So I was down here pecking away as best I could. So I think this is a really good solution for what I'm looking for. And I might actually start running some sheathing over or I should say, at least trying to figure out how I'm going to run the sheathing over this, because I don't have any middle support here. I don't know if I'm going to put up maybe a 3/8 piece of plywood through here and then have something I can kind of tack my boards into. I know I'm going to need a nailer down at the bottom. So all things I got to think about. And yeah, we're gonna keep thinking on it here. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And yeah, let's move on. Okay, guys, looks like we have settled on a ceiling access panel. Let me see if we can see this here. There's a little bit of pencil on the ceiling here. So this is basically an 8x8. This is where the light vent fixture is going to go here in the bathroom. And then over here, this is going to be a 24x24 access panel. It's got a cylinder lock, so that will give me plenty of space and room to get up there and kind of move around, much better than what I was originally thinking I was going to have to do. So I'll go ahead and order that, and order this plus the door, all the pocket door stuff here for cabin 3. We'll go ahead and order that today and get that inbound so we can keep moving forward. Okay, and we've also figured out here kind of how we're going to handle some nailers along the vertical part of this slider. So this board here, this is a little smaller than 1 inch. So I'm just using this for a reference. And if I slide that into that little pocket, that right there, this is pretty flush right here. Okay, and the same thing for just about on the other side. So it's just about flush with the wall there. I think that's going to work out great. I can always plane this down if I need to take a 16th off or something, just to really kind of line it up nice. But that being said, so I can utilize some boards, maybe a 4-inch wide board. I'll probably utilize these panels here to just kind of rest it on that and affix it. I can screw through this sheet metal and affix those boards to the sheet metal, to the metal framing system. Now, obviously, I have to be careful because I've only got a small bit of gap. You see, my finger doesn't even really fit in there too good. So I've got about 1/4 inch that my screws can come through here and then past the sheet metal before it'll impact the door. So, and there is a bit of movement. You can see left or right. It jiggles maybe 1/8 inch. So I definitely don't want, scrape lines to just start showing up on the door. So we'll be careful of that. Even to the point, I might use I do actually have some wood to metal screws I still have left over from doing the bus. They are a bit longer, but I might be able to just drill through here, move the door out of the way, and then cut them off with an angle grinder. So I should be able to run 1 or 2 boards, probably above that support right there. Maybe 1 down here, 1 in the middle, or maybe, bust it up into thirds, something like that. But that's definitely going to add support to those boards that are going to sit on there vertically. So we're pretty excited about that as well, that'll sit in there nice. All right, guys, lots of progress today. We were super happy with what's going on. I think I'm still running high from the LSU win on Monday, and yeah, the party just hasn't stopped. I even bowled some crawfish the other day. So yeah, it was a good weekend here. It led into a good week, and we're keeping moving forward. So I got to get online tonight. I got to order some more pieces, but we're going to actually do this framing, the framing up above it. Probably work on that a little bit for cabin 3 tomorrow. Might cut out the holes for the access panel as well as the vent. Probably want to wait until those come in so I can just make sure I have the measurements right. Usually they'll come with a template or something, but we got to figure out what we're going to do with that tomorrow. And then, we're going to keep moving forward. Listen, guys, I appreciate you hanging out. Things are going great. Hope things are going well in your part of the woods. And we'll be here keeping it going. We'll see you on the next one.